with that, I'd like to introduce Deacon Mike Dickson as he comes forward to share the Sunday school lesson with us.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers in the house.
Yes.
Also, there's another date today. Do you know what today is an anniversary of? Today is the anniversary, the 69th year. Interesting year. 69th year, because next year will be 70.
Yes.
And it's interesting that the 69th anniversary of the reestablishment of Israel. And we all know that Israel is the apple of God's eye. So we all have to be mindful of that. Today, I want to say, again, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Today's lesson is God's protective love. And the lesson is from Jonah, the 2nd chapter. We're going to be in Jonah the rest of this period. But the 2nd chapter of Jonah, the entire chapter. Before we start, I want to just ask a couple of questions. Here's something to keep in mind. The term affliction. What is affliction? Anyone?
Something brought up on you.
Something
You said illness? What did you say?
something that you're suffering.
Something you're suffering for. Someone else said something else?
Something brought up on you.
Something brought upon you. Anyone else? Well, the definition that I got out of Merriam-Webster, a cause of persistent pain or distress. Also diseases. And also could be considered tribulation. All right? Now, that's one of the words that's in our text for today. Another term in our text is lying vanities. Now, I had something in there that I thought was quite interesting about lying vanities, and we'll get to that later. Two others, corruption. That's something that I'm going to talk about, corruption. And fainted or weakness, or I guess you could say weariness. But in this case, fainted. Now, as we start this lesson, the lesson aim is to understand that God provides protection both physically and spiritually. The principle is to recognize that God's love leads Him to protect us while He still disciplines us. The application is to utilize God's means of protection from spiritual dangers. Now that's very important, because everything that came in the natural started in the physical. Started in the spiritual. So therefore, if we utilize God's means of protection from spiritual dangers by using spiritual means, then we basically have been protected totally. Now, today's the place is the Mediterranean Sea, and it's about 780 BC, like it was last week when we were talking about this. The golden text is, "I will sacrifice unto thee the voice of thanksgiving. I will pray that I have vowed. I will pay that I have vowed. Salvation is of the Lord." And that's the 9th verse in the 2nd chapter. Okay, and we're going to do as we always do. Let's start with Deacon Prince. Just read one verse, and we'll go to Deacon Bridgeway.
Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly.
And said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and He heard me out of the belly of hell. Cried I, and thou hearest my voice.
Thank you.
Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again.
Let's on number 3, please.
For thou hast cast me into the deep, in the midst of the seas, and the floods compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves pass over me.
Sister Hardy, can I have verse 4 from you, please?
Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight, yet I will look again toward thy holy temple.
Oh, Christina, can you read number 5 for me, please?
The waters compass me about, even to the soul. The death clothes me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head.
Sister Brenda, number 6, please.
I went down to the bottom of the mountain, and the earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God.
Sister Katie, 7, please.
When my soul faced within me, I rebelled the Lord in my prayer, came into thee, into thy holy temple.
Brother Robert, next, please.
They that observe life vanity, vanities, forsake their own mercy.
I'm sorry, forgive me. What's the daughter's name?
Zaire.
Zaire. Number 9, please. A little bit louder, please.
I can't hear you.
A little louder.
Can't be shy today. Okay, sorry. Number 10, please.
And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land.
Amen. Thank you so very much. The situation here is like it was last week, that there was the waves were rocky, the boat was jostling all over the place, and everybody that was on board, with the exception of one, was searching for an answer about how can we get out of this mess. Everyone was approaching their God, little G, and trying to rectify the situation. Something must be wrong. They didn't know what it was, but something must be wrong. So they were trying to figure it out. And then it was admitted by Jonah that he was the cause, and the cause was his disobedience from what God told him. God told him to go to Nineveh, and he said, I'm going the opposite direction. And he went the opposite direction. At least that's what he thought. Now, the first section is accepting the situation. Now again, he was cast overboard in verse 17 of the previous chapter. The last verse of the previous chapter. He was cast overboard, and in fact, let me read that. Let me read that. It's it said, as soon as I get there, forgive me. It said in the last verse of the previous chapter, it says, now the Lord prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Okay. Now, Jonah is praying. Now now we're starting in the second chapter. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly. Now, Jonah is praying for help from the distress he's experiencing through his disobedience. He brought this on himself. He brought this on himself by being disobedient. He was supposed to go to Nineveh, and he said no, he's not going. Not too many people can say no to God and get away with it. How often have we been disobedient and found ourselves in trouble because of it? I know I have. I have lots of scars to prove it. Some of them physical, but most of them have healed by now. Most of them healed by now. My parents gave me a really good hit, good beat down whenever I strayed away, and I did it quite often, unfortunately. Anyway, when Jonah prayed unto the Lord, his God, notice the Lord was still his God. His God. As different as what it was in the previous chapter, when all the other pagans were praying to their God, again, like I said, little g. But the Lord, his God, out of the fish's belly. Now, it's amazing that he can do that in the fish's belly. Now, I'm not gonna debate about what it was. Was it a fish, a whale, or whatever? That, to me, is irrelevant. It is irrelevant to the story. I just say I believe what the word says, and that is it. I'm not going to go into anything. What kind? No, I don't care. I don't care. That's immaterial to the story. The story was that he was rescued from drowning. Okay. Verse 2, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. Now he's speaking to God when he says this. I cried by reason of mine affliction. So he admits right here and right then and right there, right then and there, that his affliction, he's crying because of his affliction. Okay, now, he cried by reason of mine affliction. Why do we make God our last option? God wanted Jonah to deliver a warning to Nineveh, but the prophet was adamantly disobedient and decided to go in the opposite direction. However, God is not to be mocked. Jonah's disobedience was dealt with, but in a manner not expected. Number one, the seas were violent, even to seasoned sailors. Someone who's a sailor, they don't. Some of these waves don't really scare them too much, but this was a storm that was absolutely to the point that they could not comprehend. They were doing everything they could to lighten the load, and nothing was working. Number two, here's one that's really interesting. Very, not interesting, but yeah, kind of interesting. Immediate calm after Jonah was thrown overboard. So that basically told them, said, hey, that was the cause. Now, here's a side effect, a side note on that. The pagan sailors acknowledged that Jehovah, Yahweh, or whatever, however he pronounces it, Jehovah as the true God. Why? Why did we say that? Because it says in the previous chapter, the men feared the Lord exceedingly and offered a sacrifice unto the Lord and made vows. So they acknowledged it, they acknowledged that the God of Israel is the one and only true God. Number three, within the belly of the fish, safety was provided. He didn't drown, and as we all know because we studied, he didn't die. He didn't die. He wasn't consumed within the fish's belly. Okay? Provided safety within the fish's belly for Jonah's journey to Nineveh. He is going to go to Nineveh. Whether he wanted to or not, he is going to go. He's going to go. Now, I want to go to a cross-reference. Let's go to the 139th Psalm. And I want to look at a few scriptures here, just a couple. verses 7 and 8. And this was Jonah's dilemma. Let me know when you're there.
Amen.
Okay? All right, I'm going to read 7 and 8. Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? Ain't nowhere to hide. If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. Now, skip down to 11 and 12. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the light shall be, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee.
Amen.
Can't hide. Can't hide. And if you turn off the light, he still sees you. All right? There is no hiding. There's no hiding from God. Okay? Now, what he wanted to do, he wanted to be, let's read number 3. For thou hadst cast me into the deep in the midst of the seas, and the flood compassed me about. All thy billows and thy waves passed over me. Okay, he was cast out of their sight. Now, it's interesting. That's what he wanted, wasn't he? He was trying to hide, wasn't he? Okay. Last part of this section. Then I said, I am cast out of thy sight. Again, that's what he said, I am cast out of thy sight. Yet I will look again toward thy holy temple. Now, you had it in Psalm. Let's go to Psalm, the 51st chapter of Psalm. Well, let's go to Psalm again, the 51st chapter this time. And this is it's one of those Psalms that, this is a Psalm of David. The Psalm of David. And we're going to read just the 11th verse.
What's that, 61?
50. 51. Okay, now this is the complete and total opposite of what. This is the opposite of what Jonah was seeking. It says, 11th verse says, cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. David did the right thing. He runs to God, not runs away from God. And we would be wise to recognize that and to do just that. Don't run from God, run to Him. He is our fortress. He is our protection. All right, I got one more. I'm gonna put it one in Psalm and another one is in Matthew. Go backwards now to the 22nd Psalm. And I want to hit this is in regards to the cross-reference for verse 4. 22nd Psalm, verse 1. And I'm quite sure this is familiar to quite a few of us. Just the first verse. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? Wasn't something like that uttered once before? Right on the cross when Jesus died for us. He said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I look at that and I'm thinking, what a wonderful God we have that did that to His begotten, His only begotten, for us. Now, in this case, even though Jonah was cast out into the sea, God did not forsake him. God was right there with him. Now go down to the 24th verse in that same chapter.
Psalm.
It's the same Psalm, 24th chapter, 24th verse. For he hath not despised nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, neither hath he hid his face from him. But when he cried unto him, he heard. God hears us. And he hears us even, I'm going to say it this way, he hears us especially because we are his children. Now, how many of you parents, especially mothers, know the sound of your children when they start crying? You know, hey, something's up, my baby's crying. It's always babies for the women, I don't understand that. But they say, my baby's crying, I gotta go get my baby, okay? Think about how much love you have for your children. And that is nothing compared to what God has for us. So he will answer for us because he loves us. Okay, that's what I have for the first section. Does anybody have any questions or observations they want to add? Anyone? Sister Brenda?
I like it, the lesson going out. I don't care what you do and how far you go, God will take you back. And that's what he did with them. We repent, and that's what God says. And confess yourself. Don't start trying to make up excuses and thinking of it's somebody else's fault. Just admit it. I was wrong.
Yeah.
And come back to God.
He did well. It was to me. It was kind of funny when he said, when he admitted that to that in the boat. It's me. It's me. Throw me overboard. They didn't want to do it, but they finally relented and threw him overboard. And that was the end of their trouble. that was the end of their affliction.
But I don't think Jonah wanted to go down there either.
What was that?
I don't think he wanted to go to Nineveh either.
No, he didn't want to go to Nineveh, and we'll find that. We'll find that out why in the next two weeks lessons. And to be honest, I understand where he's going to, because at the time, I understand when you read the whole story. I understand why he did what he did, but when you're trying to run from God, you just can't do it. They can't run. You can't run. I mean, you just can't. It can't happen. Okay, the second section is changing his thinking. Oh, I'm sorry. Did anybody else have anything they want to say? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like the verse 5.
We haven't gotten
We're
there
just,
yet.
I'm getting ready to start. I'm sorry. Verse 5. Okay. The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head. 6. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Long time. Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. Okay. The situation for Jonah appears hopeless. He describes it quite thoroughly. He appears to acknowledge that there is nothing he can do. Yet, he speaks prophetically when you think about it. He said, yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption. Interesting, he spoke that. He spoke it. He's in the belly of the fish and he speaks this. Okay? Yet hast thou brought my life from corruption. Here's the thing about it. With God, all things are possible. His strength is magnified when we consider our weaknesses. We're here, and he's so far above that it can't fathom. I want to go to two more references for these two verses. Oh, but before I do, I want to mention one other thing on 6. You notice what it says here. It says in 6, yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption. That's past tense. That's past tense. what makes to me it speaks of the confidence that he had that God will protect him, that he will survive this. He says, "Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption." Now, that also that little bit right there also is a prophetic speaking of what happened 3 days and 3 nights. Years later, after the cross. But anyway, let's go. I want to go to one cross reference at Matthew, the 12th chapter, and we're going to go to the 40th verse. Let me know when you have it. Matthew, the 12th chapter. And this speaks on basically the duration of his distress, as you can say, as I would say. Matthew 12:40 says, "For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly." Okay, again, like I said before, I'm not going to debate whether it was a whale or a fish. I just know it was aquatic, put it that way. "So shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." Now, those words are written in red for a reason. Okay? That's what God said. That's what Jesus said. Jesus said this. Alright? Now, so we have the duration that this was. We have the more or less the scriptural reference that's going to be the same duration that Jesus is going to be in the heart of the earth after the crucifixion. After the crucifixion, when he dies, he's going to be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. Okay. Now, I have one other cross reference here. Let's go to Psalm. Back to Psalm. I love the Psalm 16. I'm going to learn how to put these. I'm going to learn how to put my post-it notes there so I can just grab it real quick and flip back over there. 16th chapter, and I want to go to 9 and 10. Now this refers back to the corruption portion. I mentioned earlier, I said it was about corruption. Verse 9 and 10. Ready?
Amen.
Yes.
Therefore, my heart is glad, and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest in hope. For thou, here it is, for thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. Okay, this is in Psalm. Now, it's speaking forward of Jesus when he was in the heart of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. He was not, the Holy One was not to see corruption. Now, the corruption that I think is, how should I say it this way? I once heard it. I'm not 100% sure. I can't find anything to back it up. The body after death starts to more or less decay beyond. It starts to decay after, say, maybe 3 days. It's the body there. It's there, but all the organs are there and everything is there, but the body doesn't really start to really, I guess you could say, putrefy, decay. That's what I was told. I have no evidence, no evidence to back that up. But that's what I was told. And I received it because the person that I received it from was pretty authority. He knew his stuff. So without looking it up, normally it's one of those things that I say, I trust you, but I'm going to verify it. Well, I couldn't verify that. So I had to receive that and to receive that in faith. But here's the thing about it is that Jesus did not Jesus' body was not corrupted in any way, shape, or form. He did not see corruption. Okay? One other thing here, verse 7. When my soul fainted, okay, verse 7. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thy holy temple. Okay, when my soul fainted within me, I remembered the Lord. How can you, being a prophet, not remember the Lord? You've got to remember the Lord for a number of reasons. Number one, He is your source. He is your protection. And why, here's the question, why do we always try to reason things out in our own strength when we don't have strength? It says here, when my soul fainted within me. That means he was at his weakest point. He was at a weak point. He couldn't really solve his problem. His problem was, I'm stuck in this fish. All right? That's his problem. I'm stuck in this fish. I can't do a thing about it, but I know someone who can. So, therefore, when you look at that, it says right here that the soul fainted. It more or less was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. But he realized and said, hey, God can save me. It says right here, I remember the Lord, and my prayer came in unto thee, into thine holy temple. He immediately realized that, hey, I got to pray. I got to ask God to help me out of this. I got to ask God to help me out of this. So therefore, when he he recognized the fact that he needed God. He needed God. So therefore, he needed God's help because he couldn't do anything on his own. And that's one thing that we need to, I think that's one thing that I need to do. I need to do that more often. I need to recognize the fact that God has everything in control. He knows all. Consult God. Consult with God. Ask God what to do. Some things you say, well, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. We don't need to ask God this. We don't need to ask God that. That's when you start. When you start going off on your own, that's when you're getting a little danger. I mean, yeah, okay. Like for instance, when I drive here, driving to church. You're driving to church. You can take the route. Oh, I know the way. I know the way. What happens if one day you drive that way and all kinds of detours and everything, and you're late, which I am habitually. I'm sorry. Forgive me for that. But all of a sudden you get here, it's 10, 15 minutes afterwards, and you're interrupting the service because you're late. When you could have, maybe you could have prayed about it before you left the house. Maybe it would have been impressed upon you to take a different route. I don't know. I'm just saying, we sometimes rely too much on our own mentality, our own intelligence, and I think that's a danger. But again, that's just me. Again, it goes back to Matthew 6:33, seek ye first. We all know what that is. And this is, again, why do we seek God when no other solution is possible? Because we didn't seek Him first. We need to seek Him first. Okay, Brother Robert, you said you wanted to say something about verse 5?
Oh, yeah. To me, that seemed like a parent whooping his child or chastising style with the weeds were wrapped around my head. So that's just like a belt there. No, not just like that. Because you can't get away from me and stuff, and you should have did what I told you to do.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm not going to mention my grandfather. One of the things, I might share that later, but one of the things that he used to do was just absolutely, it was not fair. It was not fair. I think about it now, I laugh about it now, but, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And the other one I meant to was verse 3.
Okay, going back. Okay.
And I was in the Navy, and I knew about them bells and them waves for passing over you. Hey, that's enough to scare you right there. You down. It ain't you can't go no farther down unless you in the water. Down there where the bells and stuff is at. You got to clean all that stuff, and it's nasty down there. So God was putting a whooping on you.
You know, it's one of those things that you want to go on a cruise. No, I don't want to go on a cruise. No, I don't know how to swim. Not that it's going to help you out way out in the middle of the Mediterranean or whatever.
Right.
It might not help you, but you know, still, I ain't going on no cruise if I can help it. Sister Prince?
We can see from last week's lesson, the minute Jonah decided he was going to go against God, he was on a downward spiral. From the very beginning, you know, when he went down to Chapt, and then he got on that boat, and he went down into the bottom of it. You know, everything was in a downward spiral for him. And even coming up into this lesson here, he had to get so low before he would even pray to God and cry out to him. And he realized himself, he said in verse 3, "Thou hast cast me into the deep."
Right.
So he was going even deeper now. And we can imagine in our own heads him being in the belly of the fish, dark, deep, a lot of room in there. And the fish, it didn't say that the fish was just floating on water.
No.
The fish was probably doing what it always does, you know, dipping and whatever. And Jonah saw himself near death. You know, he saw himself near death. He said in the 5th verse, when he said, "The waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about." Talking about that deep sea.
Yeah.
You know, closed him in. And then in the 6th verse, he said, "I went down to the bottoms of the mountains." You know, just steadily spiraling down. And then he came to his senses and prayed, you know, because I would think, well, Lord, you didn't kill me. You see what I mean? I still got a chance.
Yeah.
Because you didn't kill me. You know, so as long as I got my life, I'm going to pray to you, and I'm going to say, I'm sorry, and I'm going to do your will.
But when I was looking at the sixth verse, it says, it more or less said he basically said all these things in past tense, that basically he expressed confidence that God would save his life. When he says, "Yet hast thou brought up my life from corruption." So he expressed confidence right then and there that God had already determined to save his life.
Right.
And the thing about to me is well, I like faith. I like faith because it just seeing things like that come to pass is something that I really enjoy watching, especially the people who I'm going to be learning from. I'm going to be learning from the Old Testament. I'm learning from the New Testament. I'm learning from these people what to do, and even more importantly, what not to do.
Exactly.
Like this, don't run.
Don't run, because there's nowhere to run.
Right.
And in the 7th verse, when he said, "When my soul fainted within me," almost dead.
Almost dead.
He remembered. And that's what we have to do so many times when afflictions come upon us. We get busy trying to solve our own problems. And we just dig that hole deeper and deeper. And then we need to remember, I can't do it.
Right.
I got to turn it into God's hand.
Right.
You know,
right.
he can fix it.
Right.
And Jonah remembered the Lord.
Anyone else want to make a comment? Observation?
I just wanted to add to basically what Sister said.
Can you speak a little bit louder?
What Sister Prince said about, you know, how God, we have to repent and how God hear our prayers.
Right.
I was reading and studying, and there was a verse I would just like to share. In Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. So it's just like confirmation of knowing that God is there for us no matter what we do. We come to him and repent, and he still has our back.
Right. Right. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And the thing that you mentioned, the thing about it is, read that one more time.
The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it, and it is safe.
The righteous run into it, run toward it.
That's
not away
right.
from it. Not getting in a fish or getting in a boat and going 6,000-7,000 miles off in the other direction. No, you don't do that. You run, as you said, just like we said, to talk about David in the 51st Psalm. Run to your source.
Mm-hmm.
Run to God. Anyone else? All right, the last section is called Knowing God's Love. Okay. Number 9, first 8 and 9, I'll put them together. Actually, I'm going to take 8 by itself. They that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. Anyone got an idea what that might mean to, anyone got an idea what that might mean?
Well, I think it means just not having belief in the Lord. When you don't believe in the Lord, a lot of corruptions happen, a lot of bad things happen, and sometimes it's things that you can't get out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of what.
Okay, I saw Brother Robert, you had your hand up?
Hey, trust in me. That's what it's saying. You trusting in your own self. Hey, don't worry about no mercy, because you ain't gonna get it.
Okay.
So that's how I would look at it and stuff.
Yeah.
Because your virtue, hey, if you gonna lie and say that he's the one that didn't do nothing for me, but I did all this on my own.
Uh-huh.
See, you did. See, it's a lie.
It's just like the line about faith. It's a gift of God.
Right.
You didn't do anything to it. You didn't do anything to deserve it, nor to get it. I saw your hand up, Sister Brenda. You had something you wanted to say, or you wanted to wait?
I'm fine. There's a lot of people worshiping other God, and they said you can make yourself a God.
Mm-hmm.
And so God will tell you something, and instead of telling the truth, they'll lie out. You know, they create a lie to make it seem like they all right. You know, I'm gonna go this way, but God said don't mean that. So in other words, they're gonna take their own way. I'm gonna do it my way.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm going to read this portion from the expositor, and basically, just like you were saying about idols, it's on page 149. It's at the top, and it says here, to follow the worthless pursuit of belief in anything other than God is to walk away from a loyal God who is always faithful.
Amen.
So, the thought is, lying vanities, you're forsaking your source. God is your source. Don't forsake Him. Don't forsake Him. Run to Him. Run. What was it? Run to the mighty tower. Don't run away. Okay. Verse 9. But I will sacrifice unto thee with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that I have vowed. Oh, I'll go to Nineveh. I'll go to Nineveh now. I'm sorry. Okay? Now, you know what? You're lucky. He was very fortunate and very blessed that God is a forgiving God, and God had something for him to do, and he was to do it. There was no question about it. He was going to do it. And it's kind of funny that he said, I remember before I got a beat down by my mom years ago. I'll do the dishes. No, it's too late for that. It's too late for that. The next time she said do the dishes, I was in that kitchen, getting that sink ready. Because I said, oh no, I got you. Quit laughing at me. I got that beat down, and I said that will never happen again. That won't happen again. But I find that part of the scripture kind of funny. It said, I will pay that I have vowed. Oh yeah, okay, I know you will. Salvation is of the Lord.
It's double on that.
Oh yeah, I know you will. I know you will. Okay, I will pay that as well. Expositor on page 150. I want to read that a portion right here. Now this is in this section for the teachers. It says preparing to teach the lesson. This is on page 150, and it's two different sections. I want to just take a quick read on it. Okay, we are not told a lot about Jonah's repentance. But we know he indeed did repent. First, Jonah prayed, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. That was the second verse. His prayer here shows a change of heart. Second, Jonah changed his thinking and was willing to go to Nineveh. He was willing to go to Nineveh. Okay, I'll go. Yeah, okay, you got that little spank. You got that 3-day spanking. Yeah, I'll go. In love, God has preserved the life and ministry of his prophet in the midst of disciplining. He disciplined him. He gave him a little spanking, but he preserved him and sent him on his way. And Jonah did go and give the warning that he was supposed to give. Verse 10. And the Lord spake unto the fish, and it vomited out Jonah upon the dry land. Okay, here's a question. It says, the Lord spake unto the fish. Now, I'm quite sure that we can believe that, especially when we can believe in the scripture that a donkey was talking. A donkey talked. I'm quite sure the fish could hear. I'm quite sure the fish could obey. And notice the fish obeyed. The fish didn't say, no, I think I'll swallow this. No. The fish obeyed. The fish obeyed, and we can learn a lot from that fish. He obeyed. And we can learn a lot from this lesson in which we have to recognize that God is our source and recognize that we should not really be running from him. We should be running to him. And that he is everywhere. We can't run, we can't hide. Everything that we see, everything that we do, he sees, and he knows what's going to happen. So, any questions, any observations or anything from anyone? Sister Brenda?
First Corinthians, the 10th chapter.
Pardon me?
1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter.
Okay.
11 and 12 verse.
Okay.
And it reads, now all these things happen to them as an example, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the end of the age have come. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed, lest he fall. No temptation have overtaken you, except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who would not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it.
Well, he gave Jonah escape and discipline at the same time. Anyone else? Well, with that, I will leave you in the hands of our superintendent. Amen. And I thank you for your participation. And we didn't even have to bring out the stick.
God is good. And I guess Jonah found that out too.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he
Glad
did.
he goes.
I was looking at that verse 8 that said, they that observe lying vanities forsake their own mercy. And in our expository, it explained it so well. It said, when we read this scripture, that people who follow worthless gods, people that follow worthless gods forsake their own mercy. If we're following a worthless God, then we're rejecting the true and living God and all of his mercy. And so that just opened up everything for me. And Jonah as I said, came to his senses, and he realized the truth. He realized that he needed to renew his desire to get back with God. He needed that. He needed to be obedient, and then he would praise Yahweh. Jonah's thanksgiving and determination to fulfill his prophetic calling and duties led him to declare once again, the salvation is of the Lord. That's in verse 9. And from this point, we see that Jonah was back on track. He needed to get back on track. He had to be put all the way down into the bottom. And he talked about hell and Sheol and the grave and the pit and all of those different things. And it's a shame that a lot of us have to get that far down too before we realize that we need to do what God is calling us and asking us to do. And our call right now is to sow seeds. You know, he sent Jonah to a pagan nation that he didn't want to go to. And when we go out into the world, we're dealing with a pagan nation. If they're not Christians, and a lot of them will tell you, I don't believe in no God, don't tell me nothing. Yeah. They think they wake themselves up every morning. It's a lot of people like that, you know. But we have a call to sow seeds. Tell them, don't push it down their throat. If they don't want to hear it, dust your feet off and keep it moving. But that's why we come here every Sunday, every Wednesday, on Saturday, so that we can learn and be able to share with somebody else. You know, Jonah, perfect example of us. You know, when God called us to do this and that, we make all kind of excuses. You know, why I can't do it. Moses did it too.
Moses did the same thing.
Yeah, he did it too. You know, and we can't do anything in our own strength. When God asks us to do something, he will equip us to do it. You know, he already got the plan. While we sitting there wondering and wonder how I'm going to do this, wonder how to do that, he already knows. Just do what he say do. That's all. So let us thank the Lord for his spiritual protection. He protects us every day. Every day. And especially when we are more vulnerable during times of discipline. If he didn't love Jonah, he wouldn't have disciplined him. He wouldn't have put all those things in place to protect him. And he disciplines us too, because he loves us, just like a good parent. You know, if you can watch your children go here, there, and do anything they want to do and come out of their mouth any kind of way, disrespectful of you and everybody else, and you sit back like it's all right, you don't love them. And we need to tell our children these stories that we hear and let them know, if you belong to God and you get out of line, he is going to punish you out of love. He's going to punish you. So you can get out there and do all the things you want to do. Be disobedient to your parents and to authority. But if you belong to God, he got a whooping for you. That's right. So we can learn from this lesson. Any questions or comments? Next week we'll be still in Jonah.
You know, I consider my advantage. That was that Jim Jones that took all those people down to Zion. You know, and he died to him. He sang, you know, they were proud.
And he told those people he was God. See, but we have to be careful of that. Follow the right leader.
Behind.
I want to share a scripture. Calvin Maldonado Noah Jr. You said the right thing on verse 8. Mind you, of your daddy, he said the right thing, but he don't have scripture to back it up. Turn to 2 Kings, 17th chapter right quick, on verse 8. He said the right thing. He probably didn't know it, but he did. 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, verse 14 and 15. Somebody get it to read it right quick. You got a sister, daughter back there? Yeah, put you to work. Yeah, you're doing that. The 2 Kings, verse 14 and 15.
And you said chapter 17?
2 Kings 17, verse 14 and 15.
Okay.
You got it? Read it.
14 and 15. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks like to the neck of their fathers that did not believe in the Lord their God.
Read.
And they rejected his statuses and his covenant, his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers and his testimonies, which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them, that they should not do like them.
That was the problem. Anytime you reject God's law, you follow something else. That was the problem. That was vanity. They went out. All right.
Amen.
Amen.
And now we'll ask Deacon Prince if he'll dismiss the class.
Heavenly Father, once again, we come to you this morning, Lord, thanking you for another beautiful day that you have made, Lord. I ask you to continue to bless us as we continue to try to do your will, Lord. Continue to bless the teaching, Lord. In the name of Jesus, Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.